How's it going, everyone? Texas Man here. I hope you're having a spectacular day. If you guys would please give this video a thumbs up. If you guys do enjoy it, subscribe, of course, if you guys have not already. Also, do me the biggest favor of all, hit that bell notification button. Select all for all notifications so you guys don't miss out on future content here on the channel. I do also stream regularly on Twitch at Douglas447, so if you guys would head over there, give me a follow. I cover FPS and RPG games such as Starfield, Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, and of course Destiny 2. And in this video, we're going to be talking about my personal thoughts and opinions on one of the most recent Percy Jackson books, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Chalice of the Gods. Yes, this came out last year. I just finished reading through the very first 5 Percy Jackson books: Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, Titan's Curse, Battle for the Labyrinth, and of course The Last Olympian. And I read them all before season 1 dropped of Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney+. I just finished rereading those first 5 books in preparation to read this, and currently I am a couple chapters into the new one that just dropped here this year, Wrath of the Triple Goddess. But I wanted to talk about Percy Jackson and the Olympians for a couple of reasons, because for me and a lot of other diehard Percy Jackson fans, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Last Olympian, was basically Percy Jackson's equivalent of Avengers Endgame. I know I use that movie a lot, and a lot of other YouTubers use that movie a lot as like a good stopping point for a series. Because whether people like to admit it or not, Avengers Endgame did end the MCU, and everything else that's been coming out afterwards has been either very mediocre or just utter dog slop. So, I wanted to talk about The Chalice of the Gods. I've read it twice now, and the first time I read it, I was like, okay, I get it. The author's trying to figure out what to do, because now basically everything's been tied up in the 5th book. But The Chalice of the Gods feels like something he didn't have intentionally planned out to do. And the very first clue when it comes to this book is how short it is. Okay? Even though this book has 35 chapters, but the book is only 268 pages. Okay? This book, which is the hard copy, in case you guys can't tell, this book, it's even shorter than the Sea of Monsters. A lot of people complain that the Sea of Monsters are short. The Sea of Monsters book, which I have in my bookshelf behind me, that's 279 pages. The Sea of Monsters is at 279 pages. This is at 268. Now you might be thinking, are you kidding me? Are you really going to flab over 11 pages? 11 pages matters. And it shows. I mean, this book came out around the exact same time as the Disney Plus show, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think The Chalice of the Gods was ever meant to exist, nor for Wrath of the Triple Goddess, or the 3rd book that's supposed to be this sequel trilogy. God, I'm getting Star Wars vibes. This sequel trilogy to the original 5 Percy Jackson books, I don't think was ever supposed to happen. I don't think it was ever planned out. I mean, the first 5 Percy Jackson books, they have a beginning, they've got a middle, and they've got an end. And then the author, Rick R., moved on to writing other stories. Some of the characters from the Percy Jackson books would show up in those other stories, but for the most part, they were their own self-contained universe or self-contained stories within the Percy Jackson universe as a whole. The Chalice of the Gods, however, it feels like author Rick R. was forced to write this book, the very first book, Chalice of the Gods, of this new trilogy, in order for his books to be turned into a show on Disney Plus. Like I said, another one of the biggest reasons I believe this is the fact that The Last Olympian basically is Avengers Endgame. And The Chalice of the Gods, it feels like MCU Phase 4. It as a book has absolutely no big setup. It has no big plot. It doesn't set up this looming danger for Percy, Annabeth, and Grover to eventually have to fight against like they had to do with Kronos. In The Lightning Thief, even though you're dealing with Percy Jackson and him traveling to Camp Half-Blood and doing a lot of lore explanation and a lot of in-universe explanation for how things work and whatnot, there's also this, rivalry, friendship going on between Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. You've also got the quest to go and figure out who the Lightning Thief is, find Zeus's bolt before the deadline, but it's also setting up who Poseidon is, who Zeus is, Mount Olympus, Hades in the underworld. You're also setting up the eventual finale conflict that's going to happen in the 5th book, The Last Olympian, against Kronos. Kronos is a constant thorn in Percy, Annabeth, and Grover's side throughout all first of the 5 books. However, in The Chalice of the Gods, there is absolutely nothing. There is no upcoming danger. There is no Kronos-like equivalent. There's no Thanos-level danger that we know is going to have to be defeated and resolved in the future books. There is nothing. It is literally a fetch quest. That's what this book is. The Chalice of the Gods, it's literally Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. They go on this adventure, which somehow is more boring and tedious than The Lightning Thief, to go get an item, and instead of it being Zeus's bolt, it's now a cup. It's the Chalice of the Gods, which if a mortal drinks it, it makes you immortal. But it doesn't have the same punch. It doesn't have the same impact. There are also no real dangers. There's no stakes for our heroes to have to really overcome. Now, what I mean by that is there's certain things that they walk into literally for the sake of the book to happen. But I never felt like they were going to struggle to overcome it. Because literally the book says so that there's going to be 2 more. So I know for a fact that even if something tragic happens to them in this book, in the next 2 books, something's going to happen where they're going to be completely safe. Because whether we like it or not, no matter how many things happen to these characters, Percy, Annabeth, and Grover are always going to be fine. And that's another problem. The book centers on Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. We don't even get Camp Half-Blood. There's no Camp Half-Blood characters that we can be like, oh, this character might die that we really like. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. The son of Hades. He's not even in the book. Where did he go? So, in this book, they are constantly escaping dangerous situations easily because of either knowledge or experience, which kind of makes sense given, they took place in the big battle of Manhattan to defeat Kronos. But honestly, because of their age and experience, they're 17, 18 in this book now, that honestly means that the author should have created harder challenges for our heroes to have to overcome. Furthermore, our heroes don't learn a single thing in this adventure. Go back and reread, and I know I'm going to do this a lot, and I know a lot of people have probably done this too, comparing the Chalice of the Gods to the Lightning Thief, because it does feel very similar. But our heroes in the Lightning Thief had a lot of life lessons that they had to learn. Friendship, trust, betrayal with, who the actual Lightning Thief is, and figuring out, your daddy issues and mommy issues and whatnot. This book has absolutely none of that. There isn't a single moral lesson in this book that I have read now twice, and I probably will reread it again if they ever do this into a season on Disney Plus. But there is absolutely nothing that our heroes learn from in this adventure. The, the only thing that they really learn is towards like the middle of the book, where basically you realize that you're eventually going to die, Mr. Jackson, and nothing you do as a hero is ever going to stop it. Thank you for telling me how life works. Lame. Like, that is probably the only moral lesson in this book, but it just, how it's written, how it's delivered is just lame and bad. Next thing I want to talk about. What is in this book that is memorable? Two things. Two. Besides the goddess Hebe, who turns the main group of 3 very young, so this goddess that owns this place called Hebe Jeebies, she turns Annabeth Grover and Percy into like 8-year-olds. So she does this, her magical thing, and she makes them younger inside of her arcade. That whole scene, and that's towards the beginning of the book, by the way, was really cool. I liked it. And then we also learned that Percy's mother is pregnant with the new stepfather. I believe his name is Paul. And that's it. Everything else is unmemorable and just very familiar. There is a lot in this book that is just characters and locations that you already know and places you have seen, like Zeus and Poseidon and Mount Olympus. Like I said, I'm also shocked that this is a Percy Jackson book and there's not even a single trip to Camp Half-Blood. Not even one chapter. I don't even think Camp Half... I'd have to reread it again to make sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they don't even mention Camp Half-Blood in this book. It's a Percy Jackson and the Olympian book, and there's nothing to do with Camp... Even the last Olympian, even though like 99% of that book is the Battle of Manhattan, even the last Olympian, there was like a chapter or two in Camp Half-Blood at the beginning of the book. Why isn't there no Camp Half-Blood in this? There's no in-universe explanation as to why. We know for a fact that it exists still, but it's like, are you kidding me? Last thing I want to talk about, and it's the most irritating part of this entire book, okay? I saved the best for last. The most irritating part of this book is who the thief is of the chalice. Gary. Now, not to confuse you, this is Gary, the god of old age, not Gary, the annoying stepfather character from The Lightning Thief. While his motivations for stealing the chalice are logical, and you understand why he stole it, and you kind of side with him a little bit, depending on your moral compass, how Percy Jackson defeats Gary is one of the most underwhelming hero versus villain things I've ever seen. They start off the whole Percy versus Gary thing in a kindergarten playground, and all Gary does is pick Percy Jackson up and toss him around against metal bars. Do you want to know how Percy Jackson doesn't get killed by the god of old age and gets the chalice back and saves the day? Not a sword battle, not a physical battle. It's a slight mental battle. Literally, Percy Jackson hugs the god of old age and accepts the fact that he will die of old age eventually. You heard me right. Percy Jackson gives the person that stole the Chalice of the Gods a hug, and because he gives the God of Old Age a hug, Gary, gives Percy the Chalice. What? Do you guys remember how Percy Jackson had to go and get Zeus's thunderbolt? And that whole adventure, that it wasn't, oh, I'm gonna give the person that stole this very important thing and almost caused World War III a hug. What? It's so stupid. Seriously, Rick R., why did you write this book this way? I am, like I said, I'm 5 chapters into Wrath of the Triple Goddess, the sequel to Chalice of the Gods. Five chapters in. So far, it's much better written than Chalice of the Gods. But, like, why? Why is the Chalice of the Gods such a badly written book? Not just a bad Percy Jackson book, but it's just a bad book. I wouldn't write anything like that. I want to have some action. There's really no action in the Chalice of the Gods. It's very safe, very familiar. It's very average. And that I do hope that when I'm done reading Wrath of the Triple Goddess, that it is much better than the Chalice of the Gods. With it, I'm going to give this book a 6 out of 10. There are some things I liked in it. It's not a horrible book. I know I don't think I'd ever want to say this, but I'm going to say The Sea of Monsters, for all of its boring parts and its slow moments, has a lot more depth and intrigue than the Chalice of the Gods. So that's my thoughts. You guys can agree or disagree. You guys have a great day. I look forward to more videos coming soon. Bye, guys.